Lagos, Nigeria's capital, is home to a magnificent yet dramatically contrasted neighborhood known as Makoko, a floating slum that clearly embodies the human spirit's resiliency, as well as the severe effects of urban poverty. In this unusual underwater settlement, you can discover everything. Homes, marketplaces, workshops, schools, bars, and even brothels are situated precariously above the Lagos Lagoon. Beneath Makoko's aquatic exuberance lurks a darker reality. The waterways, a critical life source, are contaminated with waste and pollution. This environmental issue is a daily battle for the locals, who are constantly at risk of contracting waterborne infections. Due to a lack of proper sanitation infrastructure, much of the garbage and sewage from the densely populated community ends up straight in the lagoon, exacerbating the difficulties of maintaining a healthy living environment. Malaria is the most common sickness, particularly during the rainy season. There are also outbreaks of cholera, typhoid fever, and other diseases spread by contaminated water. Makoko suffers from widespread and deep poverty. Despite these challenges, Makoko's spirit remains, offering a profound and complex life story in one of Africa's most dynamic urban landscapes. Let us travel to Makoko and discover how people live in the world's largest floating slum. Makoko, also known as the Venice of Africa, is a one-of-a-kind location distinguished by an elaborate network of wooden homes built on stilts and a variety of canoes that serve as the primary mode of travel. It provides a dramatic contrast to the metropolitan sprawl of Lagos, the famed Nigerian megacity with a population of approximately 21 million people. Makoko's origins date back to the late 19th century. It was created as a fishing town by the Egun people of nearby West African countries. At the time, Lagos had a population of fewer than 1 million. Lagos has experienced fast expansion as a result of various interconnected factors, propelling it to become one of Africa's most populous and economically important cities. The city's position as Nigeria's financial core has drawn firms and industries from both within and beyond the country, transforming it into an economic hub. Its port, one of the largest in Africa, acts as a major junction for international trade and logistics, increasing its appeal to enterprises. Furthermore, the appeal of better job possibilities and higher living standards in Lagos, as opposed to many other parts of Nigeria and Africa, has resulted in a significant inflow of individuals from rural areas, smaller towns, and neighboring countries. This movement has consistently pushed the city's population expansion, resulting in a diverse metropolitan culture, but also straining infrastructure and housing. The rapid development and urbanization have resulted in a serious housing crisis, with demand significantly exceeding supply. Many low-income families and individuals struggle to find affordable accommodation. Makoko offers a more financially accessible living choice for people who cannot afford the higher costs of living in Lagos' more developed areas. While the oil and banking industries have propelled a few thousand Lagosians to stratospheric fortune, 1/5 of the city's 21 million citizens live in or are at risk of poverty. Makoko's people are among the city's poorest. Makoko's location has both advantages and disadvantages. Its location on the outskirts of the Lagos Lagoon provides locals with easy access to water-based resources, which is critical for their fishing-dependent economy. However, the community's proximity to water exposes it to environmental risks such as flooding and pollution, which are worsened by the city's growing industrial footprint. The area's landscape, which has flooded ground and temporary houses that float above the water's surface, highlights the locals' adaptation tactics to their difficult living conditions. This adaptation is reflected in the architectural creativity of stilt-supported dwellings and communal buildings, which are typically made from scavenged or repurposed materials, demonstrating a tremendous endurance in the face of hardship. Makoko's actual population counts are difficult to determine due to its status as a slum and the lack of proper census data. Estimates vary greatly, although it is commonly reported that the population could range from tens of thousands to 100,000 or more. The majority of the population is made up of Eguns from the neighboring Republic of Benin. A large population of Yoruba residents, as well as immigration from other parts of Nigeria and other West African countries, are also included. This melting pot of cultures has resulted in a multilingual society in which Igbo, Yoruba, and French are widely spoken alongside English. Religious practices such as Christian and Muslim coexist with indigenous African beliefs. Makoko's social cohesion is aided by its diverse faiths and rituals. Makoko's population continues to increase as more people migrate to the neighborhood, enticed by its proximity to economic opportunities in Lagos, despite the tough living conditions. However, the settlement's organic expansion and absence of official urban planning have presented serious issues. The Nigerian government does not acknowledge Makoko and no maps show it. This absence makes the work of tracking land ownership, planning infrastructure development, and optimizing community services preparing for catastrophes and promoting sustainable development quite challenging. The dense population and limited land space have led to overcrowded living conditions, with families being squeezed into small, poorly ventilated quarters. This congestion, along with insufficient sanitary facilities and a reliance on the lagoon for both livelihood and trash disposal, has worsened environmental contamination. The waters are now contaminated by home garbage, human waste, and industrial runoff, causing major health dangers to inhabitants and hurting the traditional fishing industry. There are no longer any fish in the gloomy waters surrounding the dwellings. Fishermen are sailing further into the water in order to catch fish. Despite its expansion, Makoko has mostly maintained its independence, adopting its own set of regulations and governing systems beyond the formal regulatory frameworks of Lagos. This autonomy has enabled the town to preserve its cultural history while also adapting to the economic and environmental problems that are particular to its setting. At the same time, it has become a source of contention for the administration and a stumbling block to Lagos' modern image. This view has resulted in several clashes over the years, with the government attempting to evict families and demolish homes while citing environmental concerns and the need for urban renewal. One of the most important conflicts happened in 2012, when the Lagos state government served the Makoko people with a 72-hour eviction notice. The government defended its actions as necessary steps to recapture the waterfront for development projects intended at developing Lagos into a mega-city. The government arrived with the police and troops to evacuate the neighborhood and demolish their dwellings. The residents of Makoko attempted to resist, and a community leader, Timothy Humpoyanwa, was shot dead by police, prompting the authorities to halt the eviction proceedings. By then, 30,000 people had been made homeless. This caused a local and worldwide outcry over the violation of human rights and the absence of sufficient notification or compensation. To this day, Makoko villagers live in continual terror that their homes will be utterly demolished. They cannot depend on the government for anything. In fact, when a huge fire broke out in Makoko a few years ago, which many feel was not an accident, residents said that the government purposely delayed the emergency units that were intended to fight the fire. The fire caused severe damage because of the houses' wooden construction and the way they were connected. Makoko's homes are primarily built on stilts, a manner tailored to the area's swampy circumstances. This construction style not only reduces the hazards of floods but also maximizes the limited available area. Wooden piles made from locally available mangrove wood are driven deeply into the lagoon's soft, muddy bottom. These piles serve as the major foundation for the homes, and their durability and resistance to rot are crucial characteristics that make mangrove wood an ideal material for construction in such a tough setting. The depth to which these piles are sunk varies, depending on the proximity to the beach and the depth of the water, but the idea remains the same: to provide a stable foundation that can resist the lagoon's tide motions along with some turbulence. Above these basic stilts, the floor structure is set out, often combining wooden planks and bamboo. The versatility and availability of these materials contribute to their widespread use, providing a mix of durability and cost-effectiveness. The layout of Makoko dwellings is intimately related to the community's social and familial patterns. Houses are frequently small, with space used efficiently to accommodate extended family units. Living spaces are multifunctional, with sections for cooking and sleeping. The close-knit layout of dwellings promotes a strong sense of community and mutual support among inhabitants, which is an important feature of life in Makoko. Wooden bridges and walkways connect residences to one another as well as the community's main pathways. Not all of Makoko is above the ocean. A substantial portion of it is on land. Makoko's land-based area is defined by a dense maze of narrow streets and alleyways flanked by buildings made of a range of materials, including wood, metal sheets, and concrete blocks. Makoko's house construction methods have evolved throughout time, using both traditional ways and new advancements. Some modern buildings include upgrades such as concrete foundations for greater stability and the use of plastic bottles and other non-biodegradable materials for environmental sustainability. Men, women, and even children leave early in the morning in their canoes, casting nets and lines into the lagoon's dark waters. The catch of the day, which frequently includes a variety of fish and occasionally shellfish, is not only for personal use but also serves as the primary source of income for many families. The fish are sold either straight from the boats or at floating markets, which are a hub of activity in the neighborhood. These markets, teeming with dealers and buyers, demonstrate the economic vitality that survives even in such a difficult climate. Aside from fishing, Makoko inhabitants engage in a variety of other economic activities. Women have an important role in the community's economy, typically seen operating stalls at marketplaces or involved in processing the fish catch through smoking or drying. This not only increases the value of the raw fish, but it also ensures that any excess catch is conserved for sale on days when fish are scarce. The marketplaces are a microcosm of Makoko's economy, selling everything from basic essentials to locally manufactured items. Here, sellers sell veggies, household products, and traditional crafts from floating platforms or canoes. Makoko's citizens' creativity shines through in their adaptation to restricted space and resources. Boat manufacturing and repair workshops line the water's edge, meeting the community's critical demand for dependable transportation. These workshops not only benefit the local community, they are also known to supply canoes to other sections of Lagos, demonstrating the workmanship and competence of Makoko's boat builders. There are canoes that replenish homes with firewood. There are also canoes that supply water to dwellings. All of the fresh water consumed in Makoko originates from boreholes or taps on the mainland. Given that they couldn't get anything from the authorities, the Makoko community banded together in 2009 to establish schools, electricity, drinking water stations, and a tiny clinic. Several foreign development agencies have also contributed to the construction or improvement of Makoko. Makoko's floating school was a groundbreaking architectural project that received international notice for its creative approach to education and sustainability in Makoko's tough environment. Designed by architect Kunladayami and his team at NLE Works in partnership with the local community, the school was created to address the pressing challenges of floods and a lack of educational infrastructure in Makoko. This floating structure was more than simply a school, it was a symbol of optimism and resilience, representing the possibility of sustainable urban growth in coastal and flood-prone locations. The Makoko Floating School, built mostly from locally obtained materials such as bamboo and timber and buoyed by recycled plastic barrels, was designed to adjust to the rising and falling tides of the Lagos Lagoon. Its triangular frame construction, spanning 2 levels, gave stability and resilience to the area's periodic floods, while its open-air design allowed for natural ventilation and illumination, resulting in a positive learning environment. The school could accommodate up to 100 students and provided primary education to Makoko's youngsters, many of whom had limited access to formal education. The school quickly became more than just an instructional facility, it was also a community hub and a symbol of what smart, context-sensitive design could accomplish in settings like Makoko. It offered a forward-thinking response to the issues encountered by comparable communities around the world, demonstrating how architecture and community design might coexist with nature rather than compete with it. Unfortunately, the school collapsed in 2016 due to structural difficulties, sparking debate over the long-term viability of such inventive designs. Despite this, the tradition of the floating school remains, and there are various schools that provide basic education to Makoko's children. Waste disposal is one major difficulty that Makoko has yet to effectively address. There is an abundance of plastic waste in the lake. Makoko is not alone in failing to develop a waste management strategy. It is a common occurrence in many African cities when the government has failed. Life in Makoko is full with hardships. Because of a dearth of formal employment options, many residents must rely on informal sector activities to supplement their income. Makoko's brothels show the combination of poverty, gender, and economic factors that drive such activities. The prevalence of brothels in the region exemplifies the complex socio-economic conditions that lead people to this type of labor. For some, participation in this is considered as one of the few realistic economic possibilities in an environment when job prospects are sparse and survival needs are paramount. These brothels also function as bars and entertainment venues Makoko chiefs, where people can socialize. This feature of Makoko's social landscape raises serious concerns about economic desperation, autonomy, and the larger consequences for community health and safety. The issue of unprotected coupling and its consequences, particularly young women experiencing early pregnancy, is a major concern. This scenario is aggravated by a number of circumstances, including restricted access to sexual health education, a scarcity of contraception, and deeply ingrained societal and economic constraints that frequently place young women at risk. Although the residents of Makoko cannot rely on the government or law enforcement, the community has not devolved into anarchy and criminality. Presiding over several areas of the waterfront are local chiefs, sometimes known as bayalis. The bayalis are the pillars of governance in Makoko, acting not just as leaders but also as mediators, protectors, and mentors for their people. Their power stems from a combination of traditional validity and the respect shown to them by community members. This respect is acquired via the bayalis' genuine commitment to their community's well-being, their comprehension of its issues, and their attempts to speak for its needs. For example, Emmanuel Shemid, the bayali of Adogbo village in Makoko, is in charge of constructing a primary school and a Baptist church. The bayalis are intimately involved in the day-to-day affairs of their community. They oversee resource allocation, community space management, and aid distribution. Their personal understanding of the community's needs enables them to direct aid where it is most needed, whether it is assisting vulnerable families, easing access to medical care, or coordinating community cleanup activities to enhance sanitation and health outcomes. The bayali's principal responsibility is to settle disagreements among the society. In an environment where formal legal systems are frequently unavailable or ineffective, the bayali's role in conflict settlement is critical. They provide a place for airing grievances, settling disagreements, and ensuring that justice is given in accordance with community norms and beliefs. This function not only ensures social harmony, but it also strengthens the community's autonomy and resilience. Makoko has a low crime rate because to these leaders those who perpetrate crimes against the people face heavy consequences. For example, if someone is caught stealing, he is placed on a canoe and displayed throughout the village so that everyone knows he is a thief. Following this, he is ejected from the community. Makoko's floating architecture and distinctive lifestyle has generated a lot of attention among tourists and visitors who wish to explore its canals and stilt residences. Tourists visit Makoko looking for an authentic experience, anxious to discover firsthand the reality of living in a floating slum. Guided tours, frequently led by local residents, offer an insight into the daily lives of Makoko's inhabitants, demonstrating the community's adaptability to the aquatic environment. These visits can provide useful insights into the community's challenges, such as environmental sustainability, education, and health. For many guests, the experience is eye-opening, challenging their preconceived beliefs about poverty and resilience. Makoko sees tourism as both an opportunity and a challenge. On the one hand, it has the potential to generate economic benefits. Tours can generate cash for local guides while also benefiting the local economy by purchasing crafts, food, and other items. This economic boost might be significant in a place where resources are sparse and income prospects are restricted. On the other hand, the flood of tourists in Makoko raises worries about the marketing of poverty and the risk of voyeurism. The ethical implications of slum tourism are being debated, with detractors claiming that it risks exploiting the community's problems for amusement. There is a delicate line between encouraging people to comprehend and empathize with Makoko's complex circumstances and reducing them to spectacle. This one-of-a-kind village, floating on the waters of the Lagos Lagoon, captures the complexity of survival and adaptation in one of Africa's most vibrant urban landscapes. Thanks for joining me on this journey, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content. Where should we explore next?